Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Matt. I am your host, Matt Taylor. Today I'm going to share with you the top 10 most popular desserts here in America, along with recipes on how to make each one of them. I love desserts. They're one of my favorite things to make and eat. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my new videos. Let's get started. Number 10, carrot cake. I love it or hate it. Carrot cake is one of the most popular desserts here in America. This particular cake was listed on pretty much every top 10 or top dessert list that I found, and I can see why. It's really yummy, and it's something that I enjoy. It's one of my favorite cakes, whether you put a cream cheese frosting on the top or a normal frosting, whether you put pineapple in it or not. It's just a yummy cake. So here we go. Here is how you make carrot cake. We are going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So first what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and take our 4 large eggs, put them in a large bowl. We're going to add our cup of canola oil, or you can use vegetable oil. Great. And our 1 3/4 cups of white granulated sugar. Yep, that's a lot of sugar. Love me some sugar. And then our 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And now I'm gonna add my carrots. Now, since I was a little lazy, I just bought the baby carrots that are already peeled for me, and then I put them in my food processor, and then I got enough for 2 cups. Or you could just use normal carrots and you can peel them and then you can shred them. Go ahead and add that in there. And then this recipe calls for some smashed up pineapple. This is about a cup worth of mashed up pineapple. Let's put that in there. You do not have to add the pineapple if you do not want to, but you should. Go ahead and let's turn this on and mix it a little bit. That is good enough. Now let's work with our dry ingredients. I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. We're gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And let's just take a whisk and let's just whisk this all together. Or you could just throw this all in your sifter and sift it all together if you want, but the whisk works just fine. And now let's come back over here to our mixture. Now, for this, I'm going to stop using my mixer, and then I'm just going to fold in my flour mixture with a spatula. Don't want it to be overmixed. Scraping our sides until it's all incorporated, just like that. Nice. Now, I have a 13 by 9 inch pan here, and I put some parchment paper on the bottom. I also greased the sides and also sprayed the parchment paper with cooking spray. It's probably overkill, let me tell you, but the last thing I want is for my cake to stick. All right, let's go ahead and take our cake batter and put it in there. Yeah, carrot cake. Using our spatula to scrape down all the goodness in there. Woohoo! All right, and now it's ready to be baked. We put this in our oven, 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're gonna bake it for a total of about 45 minutes, and we're gonna check it after about 20 minutes, and we're gonna rotate it 180 degrees. And then how you know when it's done is you'll poke a toothpick in there, and when it comes out clean, ready to go. All right, once you take it out of the oven, it'll look like this, and now we wanna let it cool for about 10 to 15 minutes at this point. Now this wound up taking about 38 to 39 minutes before it was done. I know I mentioned 45, it could take up to 45 minutes depending on your oven. I would say check it at the 35-minute mark with your toothpick and see where you are at. And now while our cake is cooling, we're gonna go ahead and make our cream cheese frosting. I have 1 8-ounce thing of cream cheese that's been softened at room temperature, 1/4 cup of butter, unsalted butter. And I'm just gonna cream these together. All right, something like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and add our 2 cups of powdered sugar or icing sugar, confectioner sugar, all the same thing. Usually I'll just add the powdered sugar a little bit at a time. And now let's scrape the sides. And give it one little mix. And there we have it, some amazing cream cheese frosting that we can put on our cake. All right, now most of the time I'm just gonna leave my cake in this container, put the frosting on it, and then make cuts and serve it out of this. But let's say you have a rectangle cake board and you wanna get it on there before you frost it. Sometimes it makes it easier to serve when you don't have the walls of your pan in the way. So what I'm gonna do is, after it's been sitting for about 15 minutes, I'm just gonna take this wire rack and we're gonna go upside down with it. And then you'll take your parchment paper off. And you can just let it cool further upside down like this. Then you would take your cake board, put it right there, and then flip it back over. And now we just go ahead and put our cream cheese frosting on the top once the cake is cooled. All right, once you're done frosting, it's ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and cut into this. Oops, there we go. And show you what it looks like. What I normally do is I cut the cake close to the width of my spatula. Just makes it easy. The first cut is usually the hardest to get out when it's inside the pan. Let's see what we can do here. Careful, does it? Yeah. Nice. Got a little bit of pineapple right there. Look at that. Yummy. At number 9, we have milkshakes. Here in the United States, it's very common to get a hamburger, fries, and a shake. And nearly every restaurant in the United States sells some kind of a milkshake. And the milkshake became popular back in the 1920s when the blender was invented. And it was made really popular when McDonald's started. And like I said, almost every diner and fast food and actual normal sit-down restaurants have some kind of a milkshake that you can get. And it's very popular to make at home. If you love milkshakes, you're gonna love this recipe. For a vanilla milkshake, what I'm gonna do is I am going to take some vanilla ice cream and I'm gonna do about 4 scoops of ice cream. 3 or 4, it just depends on how much you want to make. And also depends on how thick you want it. I'm gonna do about 3.5. You could always add more milk or more ice cream to get it to the thickness that you want. And then add 1/2 cup, about 1/2 cup of milk to start. And then since this is vanilla, I wanna amp up the vanilla and add in about a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And that's what we need for a vanilla milkshake. Pretty much 3 ingredients. I just put this in my blender here, put the top on, and then we will blend. It doesn't take very long, like 15 seconds or so, 20 seconds. And then you want to check the consistency. And it's not as thick as I want it. So I'm going to add in a little more ice cream. If you wanted to do a banana flavor, add in a couple bananas, 1 banana, 2 bananas, and then mix that in. You'll have yourself a banana milkshake. If you want to do some kind of like a peach one, add in some peaches. Okay, there we go. Because I still want it to be thin enough to be able to drink it from a straw. And now we're going to pour in the milkshake. Yeah, nice and thick. Now you can make it even thicker if you want. Totally up to you. And then, if you want, you can come in with some whipped cream. And top it off with some whipped cream. And now for my strawberry milkshake. Again, let's put in the vanilla ice cream, or if you have strawberry ice cream, then that makes sense to use that, right? So you could use strawberry ice cream. About 3½ scoops there. And then we'll put in our milk. It's about a ½ cup of milk. Again, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to be exact with it. And then I'm going to put in about a cup of fresh strawberries. And that's not going to be enough strawberry flavor. So I'm going to put in about a tablespoon or so of this strawberry syrup. That's all you need. It's just a little too thin. I'll probably add another scoop of ice cream, and then I'm going to also taste it. That's really good. I think I might add just a little bit more syrup, strawberry syrup, and another scoop of ice cream. Some people like their milkshakes more like milk consistency, and other people like it more thick, where you need to eat it with a spoon instead of with a straw. It's totally up to you. These ingredients, these amounts are just guidelines. And we will go for pour that in. This is a little bit more on the runny side, but it's still pretty thick. Again, if you want it thicker, use less milk or use a little bit more ice cream. And if the shake is too runny for you, you can just put it in the freezer for about 30 minutes and it will thicken up. And then again, we can top this off with some whipped cream. And then maybe we can come in here and put on some fresh strawberry as well. Pretty cool. Now I'm going to do the chocolate milkshake, and I'm going to do this a little bit different. You can use chocolate ice cream. That's a very good thing to use, but if you just have vanilla, I'm going to show you how to make it with vanilla. And what I would normally do, instead of just dumping all the milk in, let's say you have a limited amount of ice cream, and you want to make sure that you have a very, very thick milkshake. Okay, all out of ice cream. What we can do is we will put in our ice cream and then put in our syrup, about a tablespoon of chocolate syrup. You may need more. All right, and then what I'm going to do is, because I can't add any more ice cream because I ran out, I'm just going to add in a little bit of milk at first. And just see where that gets me. I can always add more milk. And so this one is going to be thicker than the others. So I just wanted to show you how you can just use less milk to get the consistency that you wanted. And then for this little guy, maybe I'll come in here with some whipped cream. And you could drizzle on more chocolate syrup if you wanted. Or maybe I will come in here with some chocolate chips. And there we go. And number 8, we have s'mores. This is an iconic North American treat and really popular here in the United States. It's one of probably the most popular camping desserts that you can do, but you don't have to go camping to make this. But it's pretty much graham crackers and marshmallows and chocolate. It is absolutely amazing. If you've ever seen the movie The Sandlot, there's a whole little bit in there about s'mores, and it's really actually pretty hilarious. If you haven't seen that movie, go check it out. Here's a fun fact. August 10th is the National S'more Day. It's actually pretty funny how many desserts have their own national day here in the United States. And here's how you make the classic s'more in a microwave. But all you need are marshmallows, graham crackers, and chocolate. You can use whatever chocolate you want. The classic chocolate that people use is the milk chocolate by Hershey's, like the little Hershey's bar. And so I have half of a Hershey's bar that I cut up into squares with 2 little ones on each. And then I have 8 things of graham cracker halves, so just 4 sheets of graham crackers. And then I'll be using 4 marshmallows. And so all you'll do, if you were out camping, you would take your marshmallow and you would stick it on the little skewer, and then you'd roast it over the flame. And if you are a pyro like me, you would make sure that it caught on fire, and it would be like a little torch, and then you'd blow it out and it'd be all burnt around, and you'd eat that, and then it'd be nice and gooey on the inside. But that's just me and many other people. But what we'll do is we'll just put these down like so, and then I'll put down my chocolate right in the middle. And depending on where you live, here in the United States, they're pretty common, is you can find actually a square marshmallow that's specifically for doing s'mores. I just bought the normal kind just because you may not have them where you are, so I'll just show you with the normal marshmallow. And we'll just take the marshmallow and put it right on top of the chocolate. It's a little bit different than what you would do if you're camping, because you would cook the marshmallow separate, but we're going to do it in the microwave. So we'll put these together so the chocolate kind of melts a little bit, and then into the microwave it goes. And this was always the most fun for me. I loved putting it in the microwave for about 20 seconds and watching the marshmallows just poof up really big. It was so fun for me as a little kid, and it's still pretty fun because let's face it, I'm a big kid. So into the microwave it goes for about 20 seconds. Let's see if we can show this on camera. 20 seconds. It might be less than 20 seconds, just depends. I don't know if you can see the marshmallows, maybe a little bit in there. We'll just wait for them to puff up. Look at that, yeah! And then you'll just come in with the top piece of graham cracker, and you'll just push it right on there. And you can see that the chocolate underneath is melted. This one got a little scattywampus on me. And sometimes that will happen, which is totally fine. And there we go. Awesome s'mores. If you don't want your chocolate melted, then you could put that on right after you cook the marshmallow, kind of if you were camping. I like it to be nice and gooey and melted, so it does kind of get all over the place, especially when you bite into it, kind of squeezes stuff out. At number 7, we have cheesecake. This wildly popular dessert has a whole restaurant dedicated to it called the Cheesecake Factory. Now they have a bunch of other stuff at the Cheesecake Factory, but their main claim to fame is all their selections of cheesecake. The most popular cheesecake is probably the New York style. It's not necessarily my favorite, but it is probably the most popular one out there. It's super yummy. I have actually several cheesecake recipes here on my channel. Here's a really easy one that you can try. For our tools and ingredients, we have a hand mixer. I have a rolling pin, to crush up the graham crackers, or you can use a food processor if you like. I've got a fork, I've got a Ziploc bag that we're gonna put the graham crackers in. We have a 9-inch pie pan, which I've sprayed with kitchen spray. 6 tablespoons of butter, which we will melt. 24 halves of graham crackers, or 12 whole crackers. We have 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. 2 large eggs at room temperature, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. We have 16 ounces of cream cheese at room temperature. A little bit less than half of a cup of strawberry jelly. It does not have to be exact. If you want it less sweet, add a little bit less jelly. 3 tablespoons of white sugar. About 2 cups of strawberries. This could be fresh or frozen. We got a small bowl here, and then a pot and a wooden spoon for the strawberry sauce. First, go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Now, let's make the crust. Okay, first let's go ahead and take our graham crackers and we're gonna put them in this bag. Of course, like I said earlier, you can use a food processor if you like to do this. I have a food processor, I don't always use it, but I wanted to show you how to do it if you don't have a food processor. And then I don't seal it up completely because I don't want it to pop or anything, so I want the air to be able to escape. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna just take a rolling pin and we're gonna go ahead and smash our graham crackers. Okay, now that we have our graham crackers all nice and smashed up, pretty fun, we'll take a bowl. I'm gonna pour my graham cracker crumbs right in there. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and add my powdered sugar. This will add just a little bit of sweetness. Let's go ahead and mix that around with our fork. Okay, let's melt our butter in the microwave and add that. Come in here with our fork and we'll go ahead and mix it all together. So it's gonna be like wet, coarse crumbs is what it's gonna look like. Great. And then we're gonna take our pie pan and go ahead and just pour this all in there. Get it all in there. Now, if you like a really thick crust, go ahead and add more. Add a little bit more butter and a little bit more graham crackers if you like a nice thick crust to your cheesecake. If you want a thinner one, then don't use as much. We'll go ahead and we'll just push this in here, and then you push it up to the sides. You can use your fingers. And then what I like to do is come in with one of my bowls and just push it down. And get it nice and compact. And use the side edges of the bowls like this. And it really helps to get it all nice and pushed in there. Okay, and now this crust is ready to go. We don't need to pre-bake it or anything. It's part of the easiness of this cheesecake. We're gonna just set this aside. Then let's go ahead and do our cheesecake filling. Okay, we'll take our cream cheese and our hand mixer, and on low to medium speed, we'll go ahead and mix just our cream cheese. Not too much, just so it's mixed all together. Use a bigger bowl because it kind of flies out a little bit. And then what we'll do is we're gonna add our vanilla extract and our sugar. And then we'll mix that together. Just on low speed, low to medium speed. Okay, so it's all nice and mixed. Okay, we'll get a rubber spatula and go ahead and scrape the sides. Okay, and now we're gonna add our eggs one at a time. So we'll add it and then mix and then add it. Low speed. And then we'll add our last egg. Okay, now it's ready to go. Take our crust, looks awesome. And we're gonna go ahead and just pour this in. Make sure you scrape the bowl and get it all this yummy goodness in there. Okay, and then we just spread it out. we go ahead and put this in the oven, 350 degrees, and we will bake it for 20 minutes. And then we will check the edges. If they're too brown, then we're gonna go ahead and put some foil around it, and we'll bake it for another 10 minutes. See how really jiggly it is right now? Once it's done, it's not gonna be very jiggly at all, okay? On to that step. Okay, I just took it out at 20 minutes and the crust looks great. I don't think I need to add the aluminum foil for my crust shield. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in the oven and let it cook for the remaining 10 minutes. So that will be a total of 30 minutes. All right, our cheesecake is coming out of the oven. It's baked the full 30 minutes. Wow, it looks awesome. It smells really good. Not a whole lot of cracking going on, which is awesome. And if you jiggle it a little bit, and if you shake it a little bit, it'll just be a little bit of jiggle right in the middle. That's awesome. And now what we do is we let this set and let it cool for 30 minutes to an hour until it's completely cool. And then we are gonna put it in the refrigerator and let it chill completely. Okay, for our strawberry sauce, I have our pot here, and I have it on a low, in between low and medium, so medium low. And I'm gonna add our frozen strawberries that have melted, or thawed out, I mean. Go ahead and add our sugar, and then add our jelly. All right, great. And we'll go ahead and just stir this. And then I forgot to mention, we do need 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. And we'll go ahead and mix that all in there. And then we keep stirring, and we can turn it up to medium now. And we'll keep stirring until all the jelly has melted. Okay, our jelly has all melted, and now it's ready to go for the next step. You could use it just like this if you wanted to, but what I like to do is I like to blend it at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and pour our sauce in our blender here. Put the lid on. We'll go ahead and just pulse it. Just a little bit, like that. Then I'll take it and I will pour it in a bowl. And then I will cover this and put it in the refrigerator and let it chill along with the cheesecake. Oh yeah. Yeah, amazing. At number 6, we have ice cream. Ice cream also made the most popular general foods in America list as well, and it is such a yummy dessert. I love ice cream. I love making it and eating it. I have several recipes here on my channel for ice cream. And did you know that the average American consumes 23 gallons of ice cream in a year? That is a lot of ice cream, and I know I eat my fair share of ice cream. Ice cream also has its own national day and month. July 18th is National Ice Cream Day here in the United States, and also July is the National Ice Cream Month. Here's one of my favorite recipes. First, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our whole milk. This is 1 cup of whole milk. And then 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Let's mix that together. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a whisk, give it a light whisk here. We wanna heat this up really hot, not boiling, but just really warm, and you can do that on the stove top. Set the heat to medium and just let it warm up a bit, or we can do it in the microwave. I'm just gonna use the microwave because it's quicker. So I'll put this in there for about 45 seconds to a minute. Now that our cream and milk is nice and hot, we're gonna go ahead and add in our chocolate chips, our sugar, and then we're gonna take a little sieve and just put in our cocoa powder. And the heat is gonna melt the chocolate. It's also gonna dissolve the sugar, and it's gonna help bring out the flavor and of this cocoa powder. And then with the whisk, I'm just gonna come in here and mix this a little bit. Doesn't have to be all the way, we'll do that a little bit later. And then just let this sit for about 5-10 minutes until the chocolate melts. All right, after about 5 to 10 minutes, I'm gonna come in here and put in my vanilla extract. This is 1 teaspoon. Also down below in the description, you'll find the ingredients list as well as the amounts. And I'm gonna come back in here with a whisk. Just go ahead and stir this some more. All right, and then let's just let this sit until it gets to be about room temperature. We don't want it totally hot when we put it in our homemade ice cream maker. All right, now I have some ice, and then I have some rock salt. Sometimes they call it ice cream salt. And the reason why you use rock salt is it really helps to bring the temperature of the ice down even more. And you can use normal salt, but it's really recommended to use some kind of rock salt. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a Ziploc bag, like a nice hefty thick bag, and I'm using one that has this little zip on it, which really keeps it locked in place. And then we want to just take our ice cream mixture and go ahead and pour it in there. Nice, looks like I spilled a little bit. And let's go ahead and zip it closed. And then we take another bag, same size, and let's put some ice in there. So this is gonna be our makeshift ice cream maker. And then I'm gonna put some rock salt in there, about a cup worth. And then I'm gonna take my bag, put it right on the inside. Sometimes if there's too much air inside, you'll have to unzip it and just let some of the air come out. Just fold it on in there. And now let's put more ice on top. Take some air out of there. And now we want to shake it. And it's going to get cold in your hands, so it's a good idea to wrap it in a towel. And we'll just start shaking it. It's a good workout. You burn some calories before you eat the ice cream. This is also a fun activity to do with the family, with the kids. Pretty cool. All right, I wound up adding another towel. My hands were getting cold even with that one towel. All right, so it's actually been about 10 minutes. And I can tell that it's about soft serve stage. Take it out of the ice. What I like to do is come in here and take out the ice cream and put it into another container. And you can eat it right now as is, and it's super yummy. But if you want it to get nice and hard, we're gonna go ahead and put this in the freezer. Okay, let's go ahead and cover this. You can eat it soft serve, or I'm gonna go ahead and cover it and put it in the freezer for a couple hours. All right, let's dig into this ice cream. I left it in the freezer overnight, but it doesn't take that long. And also, I didn't show this in the video, I just wrote text, but I did put some plastic wrap in there. It just helps to prevent ice crystals from forming. Yeah, look at that ice cream. And come in here. Wow, look at that. And there you go. Awesome homemade chocolate ice cream. Number 5, we have apple pie. This is probably one of the most popular pies to eat during the holidays, and it's one of the most popular desserts here in America. You don't have to only eat it during the holidays, but it's most popular during November and December, especially Thanksgiving. It's one of my favorite pies, if not my favorite pie, the apple pie. And yes, apple pie has its own national day as well, and that is May 14th, National Apple Pie Day. I have a couple different apple pie recipes as well here on my channel. If you love apple pie, you're gonna love this recipe. 4 ingredients and tools. We have a couple bowls, a cutting board, a 9-inch pie pan. For the pastry crust, this makes 1 9-inch crust, so you'll need to double the recipe if you want a bottom and a top. 1/2 cup of chilled butter, 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 cup of cold water, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. For the inside of this apple pie, we have 1/3 cup of white sugar, granulated sugar, 1/4 cup of brown sugar packed. We have 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 6 medium-sized apples. I like to use Granny Smith, but you can use whatever tart apple you like. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 3 tablespoons of butter. And then some tools, we have a rolling pin, a wooden spoon, a fork, or you can use a pastry blender. We got a couple knives, an apple peeler, or if you're gonna make a lot of apple pies, use an apple core peeler. They cost like $10 and they're really cool. You just put the apple on there and you turn it around and it takes the peel off and takes the core out, and all you have to do is slice it. Pretty neat. Okay, first let's prepare our pie crust. So I'm gonna take my flour, put it in this bowl. I'm gonna take my sugar, salt. I'm just gonna go ahead and mix it up a little bit with a fork. And now what we do is we take our butter and we wanna cube it, just so it's easier to blend in. And so what you can do is you can just take your bowl like this and you can just go down it. And if you don't wanna touch the butter, just go ahead and do this on the cutting board. If your hands are clean, it doesn't matter. Now we're gonna take a fork or pastry blender, or you could also just use your food processor if you have one. So if you have a pastry blender like this, just go ahead and you just start pushing the butter into the flour. And we're gonna do this until we get all the flour incorporated, and it'll resemble the white flour color will turn into a more of a yellow, crumbly flour texture. And then if you don't have a pastry blender, these are pretty cheap. They're like $5 to $10. An alternative method is you just take your fork and you push down into the flour like this. Okay, when you're done, it'll look like this. It'll be nice and crumbly, and all the white color will be gone. It'll be more of a yellow tint and ready to go. Now we're gonna start adding the water, and I just add a little bit at a time, maybe a quarter of it at a time, and then take our fork and just go ahead and mix it in. Add some more water. I'm going to add the rest of the water. And you just want to do it enough to where everything is incorporated. And then once you get to this point where it starts getting a little sticky like this, go ahead and come in with your hands, kind of like Play-Doh, and we'll mix it all together. And that's what you want it to be like. When you don't want it to stick to your hands when you pull it off, but you don't want it too dry either. And then we'll take some plastic wrap. I didn't mention that we needed plastic wrap earlier. Let's take some plastic wrap. And we just take our pie dough and we'll wrap it up in the plastic wrap. And we'll go ahead and chill this in the refrigerator for about an hour. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my second batch. Now let's preheat our oven to 400 degrees and let's prep our apples. I have most of them cut and peeled here. I'm just going to show you how I do it without an apple core. Just take your peeler, just go around. Okay. And then what I do is I'll just take it on its side here. Be careful not to get your fingers. And you can cut these apples however you want. And then what I'll do is I'll take about half of it like this, and then I'll just cut right around the core. These pieces are already small enough, I'll put them in there. And then I'll usually just go in half with these. And now what we'll do is we'll take our flour and put it in this bowl, our cornstarch, our cinnamon and nutmeg, our sugar. All right, and then we'll just go ahead and mix this together really well. All right, once it's mixed together, we'll take our apples and we'll take our mixture and go ahead and put it on like that. And then just go ahead and mix it all together. All right, and now this is ready. Let's go ahead and roll out our dough. Now we take our pie dough out of the fridge, unwrap it, and then we'll get just a little bit of flour. Not too much, just a little bit. And we'll take our rolling pin. We'll go ahead and start rolling it out. If you need a little more flour, go ahead and get a little bit more flour on there. And it'll wind up being about 1/8 of an inch thick. Give that a check. That is looking really close. Probably just do it a little bit more. Okay, that looks good. And now what we'll do is we'll just take our crust and roll it up. And then just put our pie plate right there. Just go ahead and put it in. You know, kind of lift it up a little bit and then just make sure it goes in the sides. Now let's go ahead and take our apples and we'll just get those on in there. Make sure it gets around even. Then we take our butter and we just want to go on, slice it down. It'll probably be soft. And then we just go ahead and take some and put some right there. Some right there. And now we need to roll out the top part. We'll peel it back. And go ahead and put it on. Yeah. There's a variety of ways that you can seal the edges. I just do classic with a fork a lot of times. Just push it down and go right around the edge with your fork. And then you can take your knife, just cut it right around it and trim off the edges. Do not throw this away because you can use this for a small little pie. That's what I usually do. Okay, and then what I do with my fork is I come in here and just poke tops of it. And this is going to allow it to breathe and let steam come out. And now it is ready to go in the oven. Bake it at 400 degrees for 40 to 50 minutes. Check it at 40 minutes and wait till it's nice and golden brown. Beautiful. All right, once we take the pie out of the oven, we let it cool for about an hour. Oh. Next at number 4, we have fudge. Fudge is one of my all-time favorite desserts. Super yummy, and depending on the kind that you make, can be really easy to make. I have so many different fudge recipes here on my channel. Fudge is most popular here in the United States during the holidays, but you can certainly eat it throughout the year. Fudge is so amazing. You can make the traditional old-fashioned fudge. You can make the quicker, like microwave fudge. You can do the 2-ingredient fudge. You can do peanut butter fudge. You can do cookies and cream fudge. So many different options that you can try. If you love chocolate, you're gonna love fudge. It's easy to see why this is one of the most popular desserts here in the United States. Here's one of my favorite fudge recipes. I have a medium heavy bottom pot here, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a heavy bottom, but the heavy bottom helps to heat more evenly and that's really nice for candy making. But if you just have a normal larger pot, you can use that as well. I will also sometimes use my enameled Dutch oven for this. So I have this pot here, and I'm going to add in 2 cups of white granulated sugar, 1/2 cup or 1 stick here in the United States of butter, and I just have it kind of broken up into little pieces. It just melts a little bit easier. We'll put that in there. And I have 1 cup of mini marshmallows, or you could use large marshmallows, 10 of the large marshmallows. And we'll put that in there. And now I have 2/3 of a cup of evaporated milk. They call this the candy milk or the cooking milk or the baking milk. If you can't find evaporated milk, you can use whole milk as well. Now I'm over here on my stove top, and I have the burner set to medium heat, which is about 350 Fahrenheit or 176 Celsius. And now we are going to just cook and stir and melt everything down and bring the temperature up to about 234 degrees Fahrenheit or about 112 Celsius, and that is the soft ball stage. I'm going to use a candy thermometer, but if you don't have one, I'll tell you a way to get around that. And there are several styles of thermometers. This is my trusty candy thermometer that I've used for several years. So you could use one like that. And then another one that I like to use is just this digital one, traditionally for meat, but you can also use it for candy. And you just stick it in there and it gives you the temp right away, which is really cool. So the trick about this is you really need to constantly stir, especially when it starts getting warmer. And sometimes if you have a buildup of sugar on the sides, you want to brush those down as well. And that'll just help to create a better fudge. So this can be a little bit more finicky. This traditional way of making fudge is a little more finicky than what we call like a microwave fudge, the 3-ingredient fudge that I have here on my channel. And this whole process is going to take about 15 minutes. And once it gets to this part where it's bubbling like this, it's only going to take about 5 minutes. So if you don't have a candy thermometer, once it gets to this bubbling phase, just set the timer for 5 minutes and then you should be good. And you're going to want to make sure to constantly stir like this. Okay? Constantly stir with a wooden spoon or silicone spoon. All right, just a little bit more, just about 9 degrees away. All right, I'm right about there. You can be a few degrees over, a few degrees under. And now I'm going to remove this from the heat. All right, and then we want to just keep stirring. And then we're going to add in the chocolate chips. This is 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. And just keep stirring that chocolate in there. And it melts a lot easier if the chocolate chips are room temperature. You want to just keep stirring so it doesn't burn. Kind of go around the sides with your spoon. It's a bit of a workout with your arm. And we can put in the vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon. And once we put the chocolate chips and vanilla extract in, we're going to stir and stir for a couple minutes until it loses its shine a little bit and looks a little bit dull looking. Yeah, this is looking awesome. Awesome. And then put in the chopped walnuts, 1 cup of chopped walnuts. And those are optional, the walnuts are optional. And then once you have those in here, we are ready for the pan. And I have 1 pan. This is let's turn this around a little bit so you can see it better. We'll just pour the fudge right into this pan. This is a 7 by 11 pan. But you can use like a 9x9 or 8x8 pan as well. And then you want to just spread it out in your pan. And once you have it spread out and level in your pan, and I just line the pan with parchment paper. You can also just spray the pan as well and do it that way without the parchment paper. I like the parchment paper because then you can just pull the whole thing out and it's really easy to cut. And just let it sit on the counter or on the stovetop, just somewhere, and let it just cool and set completely. All right, so just let it sit for about an hour to 2 hours until it firms up onto that step. And when the fudge sets, it'll look something like this. If I'm going to let it set overnight, then I'm just going to usually put a little piece of plastic wrap on the top of it. It helps to keep it from drying out a little bit. It's not necessary, but I like to do it. And so there it is, really awesome. Looks like it's set really well. And what I'm going to do, the beauty of using the parchment paper is we can just pull it right out of the pan, just like that. You don't have to cut it in the pan or anything. And I'll take the parchment paper around the sides there, and then time to cut it. And you can make the serving sizes, whatever you like to do. Usually little cubes are the classic way to cut these. Or if you're like me, you just use this one big piece as a serving and just kind of eat on it like this. Just kidding. All right, I'm just gonna take my knife and I'm going to just cut these. Sometimes it's easier to manage if you just cut it in half and work with half of it at a time. And if your knife gets sticky, what you can do is dip it in really hot water, and that helps to cut it. And this is nice. I can tell how nice and creamy this is just by cutting into it. And then I want to just pick one up and just show you kind of what it looks like. One of these bigger ones in the middle. It's nice and soft and creamy looking. And if I take a bite out of it, look at that texture. Really good. It's a nice creamy fudge texture, so good. Now I have some troubleshooting tips for you. If your fudge does not set, usually the culprit is you did not heat it up to the right temperature. That's why it's really handy to use a candy thermometer. But if you don't have one, after the sugar mixture comes to a boil, set your timer for 5 to 6 minutes, and that should be enough time to get it up to that temperature. But a candy thermometer really is the best thing to use. Now, if your fudge turns out a little bit grainy, some people don't mind grainy fudge. If you don't like your fudge grainy and it does turn out grainy, all is not lost. You can put that back in your pot and add about a cup of water to it, or like a half a cup of cream, and then set the heat to like a medium low and just gently, slowly melt it, and then turn the heat up a little bit until it gets to medium, and then reheat the fudge to the proper temperature. And a lot of times that will solve that problem. Another reason why fudge might be grainy is you don't mix it long enough or beat it long enough after you put the chocolate chips in there and the vanilla extract. You want to stir and stir until it doesn't look shiny anymore and it's a little bit dull looking, and then you can put it in your pan, and that will help the grainy texture. So those are a few troubleshooting tips. If you have any other problems, make sure to let me know in the comments. Yeah. I love me some fudge. Woo. Next at number 3, we have brownies. I love a good chocolate, fudgy, gooey brownie. Oh, it's one of my favorite things to make. And the recipe I have here on my channel is just absolutely amazing. According to the National Brownie Committee, Americans consume about 1.45 billion brownies each year. That is incredible. If you love brownies, check out this amazing fudgy brownie recipe. All right, so we are going to begin with a medium bowl here, and I'm going to add in 2 large eggs. Also preheat the oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 162 Celsius. And then I'm going to add in 1/2 cup of oil. I'm using canola oil, but you can use coconut oil, olive oil, peanut oil if you wanted to, vegetable oil. You get the idea. And then I have 3 tablespoons of water. Put that in there. Now the secret to getting fudgy brownies is less flour and no baking powder. And then I have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, a little bit of extra flavor there. And there we go. And now I'm going to give this a whisk. Excellent. And then I have 1 1/4 cups of white granulated sugar. Let's add that in. And give that a good whisk. Perfect. I'm going to trade that bowl with this bowl. And now in this bowl, I'm going to do the flour, 3/4 cups of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and the star of the dish, 2/3 cup of cocoa powder. And then I have some more sugar. This is 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. Adds a little bit of sweetness along with the other sugar, but also there's a little bit of cornstarch in this powdered sugar that helps with the texture and helps with the fudgy brownies. Take this whisk and we will just give this a good whisk. And the whisking will break up any clumps that you might have with the flour or with that cocoa powder. And you also could just use a sifter if you like. All right, so we'll come back over to this one, and then I'm just going to add in a little bit of this in here. And we'll give that a good whisk. Okay. And now I can set the whisk aside because now it's going to be kind of too thick to start using the whisk. So we'll just use a sturdy spatula or a spoon. Put some more in there. And you can use a mixer to do this, but sometimes when you use like a hand mixer or stand mixer, you can have a tendency to overmix. And make sure you're scraping the sides of the bowl as well. Get it all nice and mixed together. All right, look at that. So awesome. Now I have about 3/4 cup of chocolate chips, 2/3 cup to 3/4. It doesn't have to be exact. You could use less, you could use more. And this is milk chocolate chips, but you could use dark chocolate chips or semi-sweet, whatever you like. We'll top that in there. And then also at this point, if you would like to use like walnuts or pecans, you can put those in there as well. So let's give those a mix in there. Awesome, this is looking great, look at that. Looks absolutely fantastic. Nice, thick batter. Okay, and now I have this 8x8 baking pan and I lined it with parchment paper. I sprayed it with cooking spray first, and then I put the parchment paper down. That helps keep it stay down. And then I sprayed the inside as well, and that's gonna help the brownies so they come out a lot easier. And then we'll just pour this in. We'll scrape it all in there. All right, now we bake it in the oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, 162 Celsius, and we're gonna bake it for 40 to 45, 48 minutes until when you poke it with a toothpick, the toothpick comes out not completely clean, just a little tiny bit clinging to it. That way we keep a nice fudgy consistency onto that step. And when it comes out of the oven, it'll look something like this. And then you'll just take the toothpick and go in there right in the center and pull it out. And you should just see, yeah, just a little bit clinging to the bottom. That is perfect. It's better to leave these a little bit underdone than overdone, but you can bake them longer if you wanted to. But I always want them a little bit on the underside because it's going to continue to bake here in and cook a little bit here in the pan. We're going to leave it in the pan for 1 to 2 hours. We want it to cool down completely to room temperature before cutting into it. That way it'll stay together. If you try to cut it too soon when it's really warm, the brownies will just fall apart on you. All right, let's let it cool down. All right, and once the brownies have cooled, you can just pick them up. That's why I love using parchment paper, is they're not stuck in the pan, and you don't have to kind of fight it when you want to get them out. And then we will just take the parchment paper down, and now we can cut it. And the little trick is to take your knife and just lightly spray it with cooking spray and then wipe it down a little bit, and then that'll help to cut the brownies. You can cut them whatever size that you want. Normally I just do really big ones, but you can get 12 to 16 servings depending on how large you want to make them. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and then when it gets to, because especially fudgy brownies might stick the knife a little bit, then you can just rinse it off and spray it one more time. And then I will just turn these this way. And there we have it. Awesome. They look so amazing. And then we just take one off. Look at that. Super nice and fudgy looking. Really good. Take a bite. Mmm. 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 Next at number 2, we have cupcakes. Now different lists have the cupcakes listed in different numbers or on that list, but it was pretty much on every list. And I can see why, because cupcakes, you can have so many different flavors of cupcakes without specifying just one particular, like vanilla or chocolate or strawberry cupcake. And they're just so easy to make, and they're wonderful to bring to like parties, birthday parties and things like that. I can see why they are one of the most popular desserts here in the United States. And chocolate is the most popular flavor of cupcake, and then we have vanilla and then strawberry. And it's an estimated 800 million to 1 billion cupcakes are eaten each year in the United States. That is a lot of cupcakes. If you love cupcakes, check out this strawberry cupcake recipe. To start, I have 2.5 cups of cake flour, but you can use all-purpose flour or plain flour. And I sifted this first. It's not absolutely necessary, but it helps to break up the clumps. 2 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then with the whisk, we will whisk that all together. You can also just put all these ingredients together in the sifter and do it that way. And now in a large bowl, we will add 3/4 cup of softened butter. And if you forget to soften it, you can just put it in the microwave for just a few seconds, and it's okay if some of it melts a little bit. And now I'll add 1 3/4 cups of white granulated sugar. And now we will add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I have 2 large eggs here, and I'm going to add in just 1 at first. And then add in that next one. And now an optional ingredient, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of sour cream. And this will help make the cupcakes nice and moist. But if you don't care about that, if you like your cupcakes a little bit more on the drier side, then don't worry about adding the sour cream. Okay. Scrape the sides. And now I will add in the milk. This is 1 1/4 cups of milk. Just until combined. And now I'm going to not use the mixer anymore. And then I'm going to stir in the flour, about 1/3 of it at a time, using a spoon or a sturdy spatula. And this just helps to prevent from over mixing the batter. If you over mix the batter, it can make the cupcakes more dense and not as light and fluffy, but it's not the end of the world if you do happen to overmix it. Also, preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 Celsius. Rest of that flour. All right, until it's nice and combined. Great. And now at this point, I have 1 cup of strawberries and I just diced them up. You could also just puree them so they're more smooth. I like to have the little strawberry chunks in there, and we'll just fold those in. And you can do more or less of the strawberries if you want. And then if you like, an alternative thing that you can do, which is kind of fun, is to just add a little bit of red food coloring to the mix, okay? Purely optional. You can leave it just white or a vanilla color with the strawberry chunks, or you can make it like a pink color. All right. Just until the color is nice combined like that. Perfect. Now what we do is we have our muffin pan with paper cups. And then what we'll do, just take a measuring cup. This is a 1/2 cup measuring cup. And we'll just come in here and go about 3/4 of the way. 2/3, 3/4 of the way. All right, once this one's filled, I'll go on to the next muffin pan. You should be able to get 24 to 26 cupcakes out of this recipe, or it's enough batter to fill up 2 9-inch round cake pans. Now I'm going to put these in the oven, middle rack position, and bake them between 16 and 24 minutes. There's a big gap there. Just bake them until when you poke it with a toothpick, the toothpick comes out clean. Check them first at 16 minutes and then go on from there. On to that step. And when they come out of the oven, they will look something like this. Let them cool in the pan for about 5 minutes or so, and then remove them and place them on a cookie rack to cool completely. And then I made some simple buttercream frosting, and then I'm just going to decorate a few of these. I'm not going to do all of them. Because I like eating some of these unfrosted. The cake is so good by itself. And you can pile that frosting on as high as you want. And then you can come in here and take a small strawberry if you want. And make a little hat if you want. Or take bits of strawberry. You know, just maybe put one piece of strawberry in there. A lot of ways that you can decorate these. And there we go, strawberry cupcakes. And now I want to show you what the inside of one of them looks like. Open it up. It's very nice and moist, and it's soft, very soft and fluffy. It's not dense at all. I didn't overmix the batter. Take a bite. Look at that, you see the bits of strawberry in there? Ooh, so good. And finally, number one, we have one of my all-time favorite things to make and eat, chocolate chip cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies. They are so yummy. I love making them. I love eating them. I love bringing them to different events and gatherings and whatnot. They are absolutely amazing. And this was pretty much number 1 or 2 in every list that I found. And Americans eat a staggering 7 billion chocolate chip cookies a year. That is incredible. That's like one cookie for every person in the world. Yeah, we eat a lot of chocolate chip cookies here in the United States. If you like cookies and chocolate chip cookies, make sure to try out this chocolate chip cookie recipe. First, preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Then we start with 1 cup of softened butter, 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar, 1 cup of packed brown sugar. Okay, now using a hand mixer or stand mixer, let's cream this all together. Once it's creamed together, let's go ahead and scrape down the sides. At this point, we're going to add our eggs, 1 at a time. First large egg. Now let's add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now we take 2½ cups of all-purpose flour. We'll add 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we'll go ahead and use a whisk, or you can sift it together, and we'll just mix it all together. All right, now let's take our flour, and we are going to just add about 1/3 of it at a time. Mix. All right, add some more flour. And we want to scrape the sides as needed. Add more flour. And then before I add the rest of the flour, at this step is when I'm going to add 2 cups of chocolate chips. These are semi-sweet. You can use milk chocolate as well. This equals about 1 package here in the States. I'm going to mix those in. Okay, and now let's add the rest of our flour. And then 1 last scraping of the sides. All right, our cookie dough is done. And now what we're going to do is we need to separate our beaters. And now time to clean off those beaters. And you can just use your spatula, come in here and push them out. All right, once our cookie dough is done, it's time to form our cookies. I'm using a cookie sheet with an artisan mat on top. This is a silicone baking mat. So what we do is we take a spoon or a ice cream scoop, and we take some cookie dough. It's about 2 tablespoons worth. And go ahead and just drop it on there, and you can form it a little bit with your hand if you want. Just like that, whatever size you want to make, okay? Big ones, little ones, whatever you want to make. About 1.5 inches apart. All right, and then you bake these in the oven at 350 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. Depending on the size of the cookie. If you make them bigger, bake them a little longer. Smaller, a little shorter, until the edges are just slightly brown. All right, so we cook them until the edges are slightly brown right there. And then you take them out of the oven and you let them sit on the cookie sheet for about 5 minutes to cool before transferring it to a cookie rack to cool the rest of the way. All right, I want to show you the bottom of this cookie. Look at that. Nice golden brown. Pretty awesome. There you go. That is the top 10 most popular desserts here in America, along with recipes on how to make each one of them. Hope you enjoyed this list. Hope you try a couple of these recipes out. If you do, let me know what your favorites are down in the comments. Once again, my name is Matt Taylor. This has been another episode of In the Kitchen with Matt. Thank you for joining me. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or requests, put them down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thumbs up, down the corner, push it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Take care.